and welcome everybody. So my name is Julie and I work for a company called Henpicked Menopause in the workplace, and this is my second outing for Thrive at Work to talk about menopause. And if you joined us in the previous session, we talked about what menopause is, what it looks like, some symptoms around it, just a bit of education around menopause itself. But I returned today on World Menopause Day to talk about how we can implement this, how we can take this to the next level, and how we can turn this into meaningful change, how we can turn this into sustained longevity of change as well. So I've got a couple of my, I must admit, I've got a bit of a tech issue going on with my mouse there. So apologies if there's a delay in flicking from slide to slide. But what we're going to be covering today, and it's going to be a shortish session, so I'll be with you talking for about 20 minutes, maybe a little less. You will have an opportunity to ask some questions at any point. Do drop them in the chat. We've allowed about 10 minutes at the end of the session to answer some questions. Laura's going to collate all of these together for me. Hopefully, I will answer some of those during the session, but if not, we will get to those at the end. And certainly try my best to answer them all. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how becoming a menopause friendly employer can save you money. Everybody is always attracted to the saving you money bit, but how can we turn this support and education into something that can actually benefit the organisation from a monetary point of view? And then how are we going to turn this into some practical tips? So those are the two areas we're going to talk about. So first of all, I just want to introduce you to two pieces of information that are available. So the first one is our business case, the Menopause Friendly Business Case. Now, this is a document that is available. I've got a bit of background noise. No, it seems to have gone now. The business case is a free resource that is available to anybody. And at the end of the session, I will give you my email address. And if you want it, I can certainly send it over to you. The statistics and the information that I am quoting throughout this session are available in the business case. So please let me know if this would be something of use to you. The other thing to point you towards is our Menopause Friendly accreditation. So our Menopause Friendly accreditation is part of our Menopause Friendly membership. Our Menopause Friendly membership is a membership that you can join in order to get some ongoing resources, ongoing ready-made content that you can use to continue your journey in being menopause friendly employers. And following on from that, you can go towards menopause friendly accreditation, where you can be assessed by an independent panel and deemed a menopause friendly employer. We've currently got over 400 organisations in our membership and over 200 accredited employers over multiple different industries and different size organisations as well. One of my customers is a very small law firm of 12 employers who are in our menopause friendly membership and are going for menopause friendly accreditation. So it doesn't matter what size the organisation is, whether you're 10 or 10,000, being menopause friendly is still something that you can achieve. So let's start with some stats. As I said, all of these stats and research are all available in the business case should you want it later on. So how can being menopause friendly save you money? Well, there are 33 million people employed in the UK at the moment, and 5.87 million of those are experiencing menopause symptoms. So we're looking at 18% of the workforce is menopausal. Now, we always talk about 51% of the population go through menopause, and 49% of the population are then affected by menopause in some way. Maybe not physically themselves, but they certainly will be impacted by it. So if you think about 18% of the workforce that are going through menopause themselves, that 18% of the workforce may well be affecting other people with their symptoms. So it may well be partners, loved ones, team members that are also going to be involved and supporting these 18% of the workforce through their menopause journey. So if you look at this in a bit more detail, how does the menopause affect our productivity? So a recent report that was taken out identified that 75% of people report experiencing poor concentration. Now, when I did the session previously, we talked about the difference between physical symptoms and psychological symptoms, and how the psychological symptoms are often the ones that affect us more in our day-to-day workplace. So if you think about that 75% of people, what does that poor concentration do to their productivity? How does that affect them? Excuse me. How does that affect them, their ability to achieve their goals, maintain their tasks that they need to do at work? 70% people reported experiencing stress, whether that is of their workload, whether that is external pressures that are causing this stress. And we know that stress and menopause symptoms aren't good friends. Increasing stress actually can exacerbate menopause symptoms because it's to do with that hormone imbalance there. So again, how is this increased stress, or how is this stress affecting their productivity? And then 67% of people report experiencing a loss of confidence. And how does that manifest? We know that sometimes this means people will reduce their hours. They might go from 5 days a week down to 4 days or 3 days. They might not go for a promotion because they feel that they're not ready, or they don't have the confidence in their ability to do that. They also might leave their job. They might feel that this isn't something that they could do anymore, or they might look to move to a different job within the organisation that they feel has less stress or less responsibility associated with it. So it's thinking about those percentages and how do the experiences they have then affect the productivity of them and the organisation. If you take it on a little bit further, and how this impacts again on productivity, 35% of the workforce have taken absence for menopause symptoms, but only 9% of these will disclose the real absence to their managers. So again, one of the things that we can do to be a menopause friendly employer is to identify menopause symptoms as a reason for absence. So if you've got within your policies, your workplace policies, different reasons for absences, have a think. Does that include menopause symptoms? And if it doesn't, is it possible that you could include that as one of the symptoms for absence? Therefore, communicating to your team that it's okay to identify this absence as down to menopause symptoms, because there's a reluctance to do that, which is why only 9% of employees will disclose the real absence to their manager. If this then escalates, this then gets to the point where we know 1 in 4 people consider leaving work due to menopause symptoms, whether these are too challenging for them or whether their employer hasn't recognised or supported them around these symptoms. But the scary and shocking statistic is that actually 1 in 10 people do actually end up leaving work. So think about how that would affect your organisation. With the recent cost of 6.1k being, so just over £6,000 being the average cost of recruiting, I can't speak this morning, my apologies. The average cost of recruiting an employee, how will that impact on the business? Again, that's going to affect the bottom line. That's going to affect the productivity. If you remove a senior manager or somebody with a lot of experience from your organisation, how will that affect the way that your organisation works? How will that affect the productivity within the organisation? And this then takes it on to the next level. If you do end up with vacancies, and we know 50% of companies are currently reporting having hard to fill vacancies, and when they are then recruiting for these vacancies, we know that 52% of workers have said that having a wellbeing program is a must-have. So when they are looking for a place to go, a place to apply for a job, they are looking for wellbeing programs as part of the offering that this organisation has. And interestingly as well, there's been a 147% increase in job posts mentioning menopause. But we work with lots of organisations, and one of the industries we work with is recruitment. And we're finding now that more and more recruitment organisations are now saying we are being asked, what are you offering as menopause support? So this 147% increase in job posts mentioning menopause is probably going to continue, and they're going to be asking now, what do you offer me as an employer? Well, why should I come to you rather than going to another employer in the same industry? So again, being menopause friendly not only can increase productivity, but it can also help when you're looking to recruit and certainly retain existing staff. So how do we translate that into practical tips? Well, if you were on the session with me last time, I offered a free resource, which was our menopause friendly checklist. And included in there were some questions and some prompts and some things to think about. So I'm building on that checklist to give you some more information, a few more practical tips. So some of the questions that the checklist asks are, is it clear how your organisation supports menopause at work? So how do your employees know that it is okay to come to your managers and talk to them about their menopause symptoms? Remember I said back a few slides ago that not only 9% of employees will disclose that they're off on absence due to menopause related symptoms. So how can you communicate to your employees, to your team, that it's okay to voice that it's menopause symptoms that have caused you to take some time away? What other guidance, what other support do you have within the organisation that demonstrates that you are there to listen to your team when it comes to supporting around menopause? It doesn't have to be a policy. It can be a guidance document. It could be a toolkit. It could be a one-page piece of paper that your managers can refer back to with a list of the internal and the external signposting that they can use. But it is just about having that access to it. And also, how do you support your teams and your managers to have the right skills and knowledge to talk about it? Do you use an external provider? Do you have an external HR, internal HR, occupational health team? Is there an EAP that you can signpost to that your employees can access? How do they access this information? How do they have a supportive conversation? How do your managers prepare themselves to have a supportive conversation? How can they start that conversation around reasonable adjustments? What reasonable adjustments are available for them to be able to work with? Is there a list? Is there something that they can refer back to? Again, it doesn't always have to be something internal. If you can use something external, that's also absolutely fine. And if you have, if you're in an organisation where you may be that there are still, your employees working within an office space as well as working at home, or a mixture of both, what facilities do you have to support those experiencing menopause symptoms? And a standard one would be, if somebody is experiencing temperature control issues, would you provide them a desk fan? How do they get this desk fan? How would a manager locate a desk fan to be able to give to one of their team? Do they have to fill in a 14-page order form? Do they have to wait 4 weeks to get it? Or can they go to a cupboard and get one? Are they able to provide their own if they feel that would be more appropriate? Can they sit next to a window? Is it okay to move them around? They may well be used to sitting at home and working from home. And if they're at home, they could sit in their pants in their kitchen and work if they wanted to. Whereas now they come into an office environment, they're in a different situation. They may need to be looking at some alternatives for that. Is there facilities where somebody can go to get changed if they're experiencing maybe some heavy bleeding as part of their symptoms? Is there somewhere they can go? Do you provide free period products? Do you have quiet spaces where somebody can go and walk? Is there an opportunity for them to have multiple breaks instead of one long break? Is there somewhere, if somebody is spending a lot of time on their feet, Can you provide them with a chair behind the desk, behind the stall that they're working behind, in order to be able to get some respite there? Because achy joints, fatigue are all symptoms, menopause symptoms. If you are suffering with insomnia, by about 3 o'clock, you are really starting to lose your mojo, and maybe having the ability to take a seat and have a 10-minute break to go and walk around outside might be something that might be useful. So there are lots of practical tips, lots of things that we can look at. So giving you an example of a reasonable workplace adjustment. If one of your team is coming to you and they are struggling with loss of confidence or poor concentration, this might be due to insomnia, this might be due to stress that is been increased around their menopause symptoms. The impact that this can have, as we've said, it may be affecting their productivity. It may make it difficult for them to make decisions. It might lead to them being procrastinating a little bit more when they are trying to put together a plan. What can you do to be able to support that? As I said, is there a way of looking at breaks? Can you provide some books or some memory assisting aids that they might be able to benefit from? Are you doing a one-to-one check-in? It doesn't have to be a formal sit-down meeting. It can be just a quick question to make sure they're okay. Is there anything else that you can offer that can help manage this for them and make it less challenging? And how do we start this conversation? Because this is always a difficult one. How do we start talking about menopause in the workplace? Well, we always say, start talking about menopause. Open these conversations up. Make people aware that you are open to having these conversations. These might come in the form of putting a poster somewhere. So as I've got examples on the screen there, this let's talk about menopause poster with some menopause facts on there. These can be printed, put on the back of a toilet door, put in your communal coffee room spaces. You can put these on your website. You can put a QR code on them so that you can then link them to another website, another resource. And then the sample of the poster on the right-hand side is a poster that is available through the Pausivity campaign. This is available in multiple languages. It's a pictorial poster predominantly, so that it doesn't necessarily need to be something that spent a lot of time reading, that it can easy to understand. Like I said, available in multiple languages. You can just go on the website, you can download these, upload them, print them off, whatever you want to do. Have you thought about having workplace menopause champions or having wellbeing champions that have a bit more knowledge around menopause? And then external signposting that you can use are Menopause Hub. The picture there in the middle of the screen is our Henpicked Menopause Hub. All free resources on there, loads and loads of information, podcasts, lunch and learns, videos that you can cut and paste that link to, upload that onto your wellbeing pages. Again, giving that external support, giving a bit more resources that you can use as part of a program of support for your employees. So that was very much a whistle-stop tour. I could talk about it forever, but I am on a timeline. So I now like to hand this back over to you. As I said, my email address is on the screen now. Take it down, email me if you want a copy of the business case, or if you want any further information about our Menopause Friendly membership and accreditation, or if you want any information or you've got any questions, then come back to me. I can't answer personal individual questions about symptoms, etc., but I can certainly point you in the direction of some resources if I can.